In about 12 hours from the perspective of this recording, the last episode of The Rings of Power Season 2 will be released, and that's a good time here for a little update to my prediction video I made last week. So for episode 8 and beyond. My name is Chris, aka ThePhilosophersGames, and spoiler warning for everything that is out a day before episode 8. I also don't have press access, so I have not seen episode 8 yet. But let us start. For example, with Arondir. He was wounded by Adar in the 7th episode at the end and left on the battlefield. He was still alive, so I assume he is still alive. It would not be cool to kill him off screen, and I hope he remains in the show because I like the actor and the character also, because he's potentially the most elven-like character in the show, I feel. And after the death of Bronwyn, it feels a bit like he lost a bit purpose in the show, which is not good for the character, I guess, but I hope he can find new purpose in the 3rd season, maybe goes to Lothlorien or something. Then of course I will stick to most of what I said in the previous prediction video, so for example that the stranger is Gandalf. I think the Dark Wizard is bait for Saruman and he's either a blue wizard or one of the unknown wizards that they made up for the show, also possible. Deep in my heart, I hope that I'm wrong and that both are blue wizards. That would be more interesting in my opinion, but who knows? Currently, the Gandalf writing is too big on the wall for that to happen. For example, in the preview material for episode 8, it is implied that the Dark Wizard knows the stranger, but the Istari most likely knew each other, so whoever that is, of course, the Istari knew each other, so that's not really a big reveal or surprise. I think they imply or go into the direction here of the Blue Wizards, because it's mentioned that the two Blue Wizards were actual friends, so more than just knowing each other. Further, of course, Manwë is mentioned there as well, and Manwë is the king of the Valar, so the highest authority in the world, just one step below God, basically, and he's very powerful. And interestingly, each of the Istari were chosen by one of the Valar. For example, Radagast was chosen by Yavanna, Saruman was chosen by Aule, and Gandalf was chosen by Manwë. Interestingly, the two Blue Wizards, I think, were chosen by Orome, at least in the one version where this is explained a bit further. For further context, Aule is basically the Valar of smithing, Yavanna the Valar of nature, and Orome the Valar of hunting. Then one prediction I made in the last video where I wasn't sure already, or maybe I would say it is more likely for later seasons. I think this might not be in Season 2, and that is Numenor sending troops to help Eregion. Here I'm now very unsure, because it was not even slightly implied in episode 7, and doing all of this now in episode 8, what makes the episode very busy. To be fair, we know that Numenor will be a part also in episode 8. As a result, I feel like this episode could be a bit too busy for its own good, but who knows how it will play out in the end, so I'm very unsure about this prediction. I still stick to it that they will send troops or something to Middle-earth at some point, but most likely this will happen later, I think, not in one episode, but who knows. Then we have one of the subordinates of Adar, Gluk, the orc daddy, so to say, and I'm not sure, he is always kind of opposing what Adar is doing, just wants to return to Mordor and not waste so many orc lives on the siege, so he's a bit opposed. While the other orcs still follow Adar in great numbers, he is a bit against it, so it's very tough to tell what his role will be in the 8th episode, or if we see him there again. I think he's not prominent enough to kill off like a main character, because some people speculate he might backstab Adar or something. Maybe he does this to distract Adar or weaken him, and then Sauron can finish him off, but I still think that Sauron will kill Adar. And then we have a new development in Khazad-dum, and it has to do with the balrog. So we know from the trailers, even before the show was out, that there is still a scene with a balrog in Season 2, maybe even 2. We have seen him like again in the preview material for episode 8 as well, and also some interesting dialogue. So I think there will be a confrontation between Durin the Third and his son Prince Durin the Fourth. And maybe I could imagine that Durin the Third gets killed in this process, maybe by the balrog, which then becomes known as Durin's Bane. It is a bit strange because, as said previously, the balrog is a topic of the Third Age, not of the Second, and the downfall of Khazad-dum is also in the Third Age, but maybe this is kind of a first contact thing. Maybe King Durin III gets killed and then, I don't know, they seal off this section of the mines or whatever and collapse it, so the balrog is kind of trapped there in the depths and just escape and never go there again, and only much later in the Third Age they reopen the tunnels there because they have forgotten about Durin's bane, and then Khazad-dum is destroyed. I can't really see that Khazad-dum will be completely wiped out already in, let's say, season 3 or something. That would be very weird in my opinion. Then, I think last, there is an interesting detail that was noticed by Rosemary in chat or some other people online as well, and that is that the hair of Adar changed a bit over time while he was holding Nenya, and maybe it's just the light, but it could also mean that the ring is healing him back to who he once was. Some speculate he might be then Celebrimbor. I still don't like this idea, to be honest. I think it would be absolutely terrible for me as a book fan. However, I could imagine that maybe there is something to it. It does not have to be Celebrimbor right away, but maybe he really turns to who he once was or a bit back. That would be an interesting idea to explore for the show maybe, even though I'm not sure if that is how the rings would work, because it is said they do not endure evil, and the orcs, by their design, their transformation, like elves transformed into orcs, means that they are become a mockery of the elves and they are in their nature evil. And as a result, I'm not sure what that makes out of Adar then. I still stick to my prediction that Anatar/Sauron will leave Eregion potentially with the crown, and then Galadriel might confront him at some point or the other way around, and this might be then about the 9 Rings of Power and Sauron trying to enter again Galadriel's mind and maybe trying to corrupt her, convince her to come to his side and so on. Something like this will happen, and how this is resolved, very hard to predict. Maybe Elrond intervenes or Elrond and Gil-galad. Another interesting idea that I recently had was that maybe it would be interesting if Sauron at this place does not get the 9 rings. He maybe gets the crown, but not the 9, and Galadriel or whoever escapes with those. And now Sauron has basically an incentive to form a big orc army. I guess he gets then, with the crown and Adar out of the way, the control over the orcs, and then from this point he will form a massive orc army and attack the elves to get the 9 rings back, which he succeeds then, and then in the last moment the Numenorians step in and basically push him back again, and maybe through this he gets captured. As said previously in the 2nd season, Numenor was very isolated, and this is a chance to connect Numenor back to the main plot in season 3 though. I don't think all what I just said happens in season 2. This might be stuff for season 3 then, but who knows. In this context also the question remains, when will Sauron create the One Ring? I don't think this will happen in season 2. This is, I assume, something for the next season. However, I could imagine that the crown still plays a part in the creation of the One Ring. Maybe he uses a part of it, and I could also imagine that him going to Mordor is already hinted at in season 2, but I think not the full process of creating that yet. Then we also know this from the preview material for episode 8 already, that Estrid and Isildur will talk to each other, and Isildur will ask her to come with him to Numenor, so there's definitely some truth there. I predicted this kind of already in the last video, and further also that the staff of the stranger will be from Gundabale's tree. I'm pretty sure about this as well. Beyond that, that are pretty much, I think, all my predictions I had here summarized that were left and where I did not really change my stance upon those. So very curious how everything will play out in a few hours, I have to say, from this perspective. And I hope it will be a good end for season 2. My worry is a bit that this episode is again far too busy for its own good, but we will see. Thank you people for watching. If you liked this video, then maybe consider pressing the like button and tell me what you thought about this prediction video, or in general what your predictions are about the last episode in the comments. Would be much appreciated. And if you want more Rings of Power content, and especially book lore content, which is what I mainly do here on this channel, then maybe press the subscribe button and the annoying bell as well. Would be much appreciated. Further, there will be a live stream tomorrow for the last episode and also a first impressions video, and I also plan to make an overall critique video for the second season. Give me some time for that. And also there will be other content like games content stuff on the games channel and so on. There's tons of stuff I'm doing. Huge shout outs again to all my supporters and so on. Thank you so much for your help and for your generosity. Thank you people again for watching, and see you next time. Goodbye.